band! You hear it?
It is necessary for the recording of sound to convert the sound waves to corresponding changes in light. The sound waves produced by my voice are transmitted through the air to the microphone, where these sound waves are converted to changes in an electric current. These variations in the electric current are then amplified and used to control the light. This varying beam of light falling on the photoelectric cell produces variations in the electric current, which are directly proportional to the variations in the light beam. The sound track. As the varying electrical current in the photoelectric cell is small, a vacuum tube amplifier is required to increase it to the point where it will operate a loudspeaker. Sound track.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Occult Rejects. This week I am very excited to be having this gentleman on. It's been about a year in the making. I hit him up probably about a year ago when we were covering the Scarlet Horse series because I thought his stuff went well with what we were talking about. And I still think it does a year later. And me and this gentleman were talking before. It may have taken us a year to finally do this, but maybe it was better off that way because I think we were both wiser people at this time. And I think there's just more stuff going on to where I think it's still worked out perfectly to do it now. Today I also am blessed to have Synthetic Psyop, the elemental wizard in the passenger seat, co-hosting with me. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you again for jumping on with me. And as I mentioned before, we do have Alex Rivera, Aeon, the Sun Lady Unveiled author. Thank you very much for joining us, finally joining us today. And I guess Synthetic, if you want to maybe just take the show over, you can.
Yeah. So Alex has 3 very good books. His first book, we have Baphomet, the Mystery Temple Unveiled. I would highly recommend this book. He co-authored it. Secondly, we have The Sun Lady Unveiled. This is a great book. This goes into the book of Revelations. Who is the Sun Lady? Really recommend this book. It takes the book of Revelations apart, basically line by line. And I'm reading the Kindle version currently, which is his latest book, The Laurel Turns Green, and that refers to the Cathar priest who was burnt during the Catholic Inquisition. He basically supposedly said, we'll return in 700 years when the laurel turns green. Now, if you do that math, it's 1321 plus 700, which gives us 2021. And the year that supposedly the Cathar spirit is set to return. I find this all really interesting because it seems like every generation sort of reinvents the Cathars for themselves. So it's something I'm very passionate about. Alex's work is great. It's a trip, basically. He's Doc Brown, you're Marty McFly, and he's taking you back into the past to dig into these great mysteries. And he doesn't really take away from the mystery, but he gives us many more questions, honestly. Alex, what can you tell us about the Cathar returning and has the Cathari returning and has the laurel turned green finally?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you know the whole old saying, the darkest before the dawn. So we're in that really dark, peak area, whatever you want to call it.
You're going into the train tunnel right now.
Yeah, we're going through the motions for sure. So I mean, it's all connected to what other occultists like Aleister Crowley talked about. The Aeon of Horus, the Aeon or the Age of Wormwood. Yeah, and then the New Age community talked about the Age of Aquarius. I think the Age of Aquarius actually happened around 1962 was when it first supposedly started. So now we're just like continuing those new aeonic currents, if you want to call it that. So when it comes to like the Cathars, so yeah, that's a really interesting topic. So who exactly are the Cathars? So let's just start there. So they were a Gnostic Christian sect in the Middle Ages, very much targeted by the Roman Catholic Church for extermination, because if you're a heretic around that time frame or that time period, you're basically an enemy of the state.
Right.
So, and the Catholic Church was the powers that be at the time, and in some degree they still are kind of, but anyway. So when they launched this campaign to destroy these Gnostic Christians, I mean, it's what really led to like all these witch hunts that happened later on during the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages. So we owe a lot of the Catholic Church owes a lot of influences from the Inquisition for the witch hunts, right?
You know something I want to ask you real
Yeah.
quick, not to interrupt you, Alex, but just something
Yeah.
you mentioned real fast. You do hear about like obviously the Christians went around killing a bunch of people, but it was also done to them.
Right,
I have often wondered, like, were they very occulted back then, and not really what they are now, and that's why they were getting killed. Because like even going back to some of like their old stuff, I mean, they would have symbols on their houses to show like what they were into. If you met somebody in the street, you would start to draw the fish, and if they finished it on the ground with a stick, so, you'd know like, oh, this is another person. So it must have been deeply occulted, and I think I just wonder if sometimes were some of them killed because they maybe preaching too much or too talking about real stuff.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's hard. It's kind
I
of.
wonder
really
about that with the
know.
Indians as well, the Native Americans. I think that with them as well.
Right. Well, I mean, the same thing happened to like a lot of other Gnostic groups, like the Manichaeans, for example. They were pretty much targeted out for extermination. What was some other groups? I know there's like a really lesser known group called the Priscillians. They were exterminated. So, I mean, like all that stuff happened like sort of like around the same time, like where you see guys like Isaac Luria come in the scene with when he reinvents the Kabbalah. You know. Um, so I mean, there was some sort of nexus point during that time frame for sure. When it comes to like the Cathars, like so they were like they were pacifists. They were really into like veganism, or not maybe not veganism really, but vegetarianism. They rejected the Old Testament really because they thought it was the work of the devil or the Rex Mundi. Yeah, I mean they really put a lot of emphasis on the New Testament, really, especially the Gospel of John. Um, and there was like a lot of like rumors in the Catholic Church saying that they were like involved in like witchcraft or whatever, but that's debatable, really. I mean, but I don't know, just something about the Cathars. They always seem to be like attract negative attention, from the Matrix. I don't know, because people like they just react like chaotically to even the subject. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, it is connected to like the holy, but the Cathars are connected to like the Holy Grail, to
Baron Sonier.
Sonier, yeah, Autoron, the Nazi quest of the Holy Grail, all this craziness. So, and then it's connected to like even the Templars, and it's all connected one way or another. Yeah.
Yeah, Cathar, or which is known as the Cathari, it comes from the Greek word, and I might be pronouncing it wrong. It's Cathori, Katharoi, which means pure ones. And yeah, the Cathars kind of venerated Jesus, and they considered themselves sort of the good Christians. So it's a very Gnostic sort of worldview that they were proponents of, essentially. The laurel, that's a symbol of victory. That's a wreath, basically. So it all does kind of tie in symbolically.
Right. So, well, that's why I put Uriel on the cover with those with the crown of the laurels. Yeah.
Yes.
I just thought it just kind of connected it. I don't know why, but then I thought, the more I thought about it, like, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense, to put on the cover.
Now, do you think that could be the same crown that's on the world card sometimes?
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. Like, and I know the world card connects to like Aeon of the Orphic Mysteries too. It's like, so it kind of looks like Mithras in a way,
Yeah. The cover of the book, you've got, like I said, I apologize, I have the Kindle version, but we've got an angel, Uriel, holding the sun. He's standing in an archway, and he's standing on a checkerboard floor. Where
Yeah.
did this image come from? Is this a new image? Is this an old image?
Oh, okay. Well, that's just like based on a church icon that I found on Wikipedia,
Oh,
to be
okay.
honest.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I had the artist just kind of reinterpret it in his own way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
instead of, I don't know, having to pay copyrights, I just, maybe just get somebody else to like paint from it, or like an image from that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Get around the copyright laws.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I just thought it fit like the cover. So, and then for a long time I was trying to find a catchy title for this book because I had a lot of people reach out to me on my website saying, because see, here's the thing, was that I took down a lot of articles from my website, and then
Mm.
I'm like, well, I mean, they're still pretty good. So maybe then I was just thinking, well, maybe it's just like re-edit them and just put in the book format. Then I took some other articles I wrote some other publications, and then I added them to this book as well. So I mean, the book isn't really about the Cathars really necessarily, but it does connect to what they believe for sure. I mean, like now another crazy thing about the Cathars is that they believe that the world, the physical universe, was created by Rex Mundi, right, or
Lord
Lucifer,
of the Earth.
yeah, or Satan or whatever. But there's a book called what's it called, The Secret Supper or something like that. And
Hmm.
there's another book called The Book of Two Principles. So it gets into this radically dualist notion that matter is darkness and spirit is good, basically, right? But I mean, essentially what they taught is that every human being has this divine counterpart. It's like we're basically like fallen angels trapped in flesh,
Like
and
a
that we're
daemon
basically
or higher self?
right, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah. So basically, we were tricked out of eternity by Lucifer somehow, and then he brought all these different angelic souls to the earth, and we're in this constant stream of like reincarnation or metempsychosis. So the Cathars were definitely believers in that doctrine of reincarnation, right? So I don't know where am I going with this, but anyway, I mean, it connects to like the Orphic stuff, the Platonic stuff that I wrote about in the book. I mean, they have I mean, I wrote like a whole humongous essay on the Orphic mysteries, and they get into like all this Orphic stuff, the reincarnation, all that. So a lot of these ideas can be traced back to them. But it even goes back even further to like Egypt or whatever, or you can say Atlantis if you want to call it that. Anyway, sorry,
Right.
go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there seems to be a lot of Orphic symbolism that can be found in the world today.
Yeah.
Orpheus was the legendary poet hero, obviously, said to have originated in the mysteries of Dionysus. However, Orpheus is more closely associated with Apollo.
Yeah.
He was immortal, but some legends say he was a demigod. But
Mhm.
there's this image that the Orphic egg. I think it's very Gnostic personally. But you've got
Mhm.
an egg, and there's sort of a serpent kind of coiled around it.
Mhm.
You know, that egg symbolism is sort of popping up everywhere. Rihanna pregnant, maybe some things floating in the sky.
Mm.
A lot of egg symbolism I'm seeing in the world. Um,
Somebody had even sent me something that like had to do with like Janus and like poles or something. It was like really weird, but they sent it
hmm.
to me and they were like, "Yo, do you think like this has something to do with it?" And I was like, "What?" And then I started thinking about this too, and I was just like, "Is there a connection with this?" I don't know. It's very
Hmm.
weird. I do think those something like what you were just saying right now. We have this whole, I don't know. It's very weird coincidental things.
To the new dawn, maybe the egg symbolism is symbolic of sort of the new age kind of coming into view.
Yes.
Right.
New order, possibly. I I don't want to speak it into existence, but
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I think that something like that may be going on. Absolutely. There was something I found on your Substack which your Substack is Mega Mysterium substack.com, where you kind of expand on some of these concepts that you go on in the book. There's a line in there: 2022 corresponds to the cosmic judgment and the hermetic bull of mind wisdom, along with the bulls of wrath found in Revelations, considering recent events with the passing of the Queen and perhaps a signal of more significant changes. I think that kind of fits into what we're talking about with maybe the egg and
Right.
whatnot.
Right. I think it was you, Nick, that I think that posted something about the Queen and her charging the Tree of Life. I don't know if it was you or
Yes, yes.
yeah, I think it was you that posted that. So that blew my mind when I saw that because, like, I was studying all this stuff like connected to like the Kabbalah at the time, and then like and then see it like manifest in real life is just like really trippy to me. so and
And
then
what you even said before, which I did find interesting, and I didn't want to like, because I think we started going off somewhere. Even before, when you mentioned, what was it, was it 70 or 700? But like, you had the number 7 again in green. That does go along with the tree for the maiden.
Right.
So I even thought that was weird. I mean, I know it may have had a 0 at the end of it, but it's still just that one number 7.
7, yeah. So you mentioned earlier something about like the serpent growing around the egg,
Orphic
right?
egg.
The
Yeah.
Orphic egg. Yeah. So now I'm sure you guys are aware of this, but there's something called the middle pillar meditation
Yes.
of Israel Regardie, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So, and he teaches to like activate the energy centers in the middle pillar, right? And then you're supposed to like with your mind switch or uh, charge the energy that you invoked with these divine names, right, in your auric field, and you're supposed to like spread throughout your egg field, basically,
That's
right?
exactly what it looks like too. Like even the way
Yeah.
they describe that, it's going to be drawn. Like you're visualizing it. It's practically an egg around.
Right. So now, towards the end of that meditation thing, there's like a spiral of energy supposed to go up your leg from what is it, Malkuth, right, and to Cathar. So that's like Orphic stuff right there, It's just like, well, I didn't even think about that, and then it just kind of came to me.
Yeah, that's like the snake wrapping around the egg, as if you were doing it in the inside of the middle pillar. And just like real quick, just so for some people to know that don't know what this is, maybe Alex, I've never looked into why, but I think when you're doing this, you're only doing 5 out of your 7 chakras as well.
Right.
Now, I don't know why you're leaving out the other 2, but just to let people know, you are calling upon specific God names. You're supposed to, they suggest 3 to 4 times the most. Vibrate that name, say it, I guess, out loud or in your head. And you focus on that chakra as you're moving down. And then there's just supposed to be basically things coming out from behind you, coming in front of you on both ends. That almost makes an X. And then there's spiraling coming down into you.
Like Kundalini serpent stuff,
it's
maybe.
If you were to pay attention to the visual that you're supposed to be thinking, you would see a lot of what you're actually saying with the egg right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people claim, like, they say that it's the same thing as the chakra working or whatever but I mean, they do overlap. I mean, I don't think they're like the same thing necessarily, but yeah, there's a lot of overlap between the two. Yeah, for sure, the two systems.
I mean, even if you look at the egg right now, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, and I guess it depends on how you draw it. But if you count the snake head at the top and then the amount of times it wraps around it, with the head, you would have like 4 times it wraps around and then the head. Yep. So you'd still have the 5 chakras.
Right.
And the tail going below the egg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But it is wrapped around it 4 times. And if you look on the Crowley Thoth Tarot card for the lovers, it does depict the Orphic serpent and egg symbolism at the very bottom of that lover's card.
Right. Yeah. I pointed that out actually on like another guy's podcast. His name is Anya Saharu.
Sorry. My bad.
Okay. What happened? Oh, okay. So that's okay. And I pointed that out on his podcast, and then we got into like the stuff from my website that I posted. So this guy, his name is Kenneth Grant, and he was involved with like Typhonian kind of magic with Crowley and all that. Anyway, he was talking about this ritual where you're supposed to invoke Lam into your space for focusing on his portrait, and you create some sort of like energetic astral egg to travel to other timelines. I know that's crazy, but I'm just like, what? It's like when I found that out, I'm just like, that's insane.
Well, that's homunculus stuff right there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely Crowley homunculus stuff.
I've even wondered, like, the whole thing with Lady Gaga that time. Didn't she put herself in like something that almost looked like an egg?
A giant egg. I think you're
Yeah,
right.
or like even when you have David Blaine put himself inside something inside New York City. He just sat in a box for a few days.
In ice or something like that.
Yeah, it's just like, is all this like your fancy way of like showing that like you've attained that or had that experience?
Some type of ritual to attain it, maybe.
Or just bragging to other people who know what it means.
Yeah. Self-transformative psychodrama for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. All these celebrities, man, like they kind of go crazy. Well, a lot of them do. Some of them don't. Like Beyonce or Jay-Z. They're really into it. Like Beyonce was crowned like the GOAT at the at the what was it? Was it the Grammys that happened?
Yeah.
That happened? Yeah. So that connects to like Baphomet, right? And then and Baphomet is like basically, I mean, it's Saturn. If you think about it, it comes from the Kabbalah. Because and Binah and because the goat connects to Binah, right? So
that's what I think. I agree with that.
The severity, the pillar of severity, or the feminine pillar, right? But anyway, but then there's all these other celebrities like what's his face? Kanye West, well, like, yeah, he made himself to a joke or a laughing stock, but I mean, only because he went against like the programming that But when you sign on a label, you're supposed to go through these initiations, so you have to go along with their programming, or else you become the scapegoat, So
he's definitely playing that scapegoat.
Right.
It's undeniable at this point. Yeah. I think it is some sort of humiliation, whether it's him doing that because he truly believes in what he's saying, or if it's just another psyop, who knows? But he's definitely playing the scapegoat. Yeah, and that ties back to the the fool. Absolutely. That's the old Jewish story. One for the mountain, which is Azazel, and I'm sorry, somebody help me out here. There's a scapegoat.
One for the Lord.
Yes,
and one
thank
for
you.
Azazel. Yeah.
So, thank you. Yeah. So I think a lot of that symbolism happens in mainstream media to, I don't know why, but to embarrass a celebrity for some reason, to forward some sort of an agenda. Yes.
Right. I was going to go from here, but so you have all these celebrities, doing all these things, and then you see all these movies, right? Like there's another movie that came out. It's called A Knock on the Cabin Door or something like that. It's by M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, really?
It just came out.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. Well,
Knock at the Cabin.
Or Knock at the Cabin, something like that. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So in that movie, I mean, I read like a lot of stuff on it. I mean, I have yet to watch it. Just disclaimer, I need to watch it. But from what I've heard, I mean, there's things that happen in the movie where like there's these 4 people that basically kill each other to stave off the apocalypse, right? The 4 horsemen, supposedly, that represents. So guess what happens in the movie? Like, you have all these earthquakes happen. There's all these diseases, pandemics. There's all these airplanes crashing down. So I bet that's going to happen this year too. So when they put out this kind of stuff in these mainstream movies, right, it's there to like produce some sort of energetic effect into the mass collective, and then you create a result by the mass collective's observation, right?
Priming the pump.
Right, for the subconscious and your conscious mind. So somehow they influence the mass collective to produce these events. So that's why you're seeing all this, drama unfold before our eyes right now.
Oh, so it's going to get worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like you guys remember Weekend at Bernie's when the guy's like telling that bullshit story to that girl and he's like, the plane fell on the train. Like, we're literally probably gonna see silly shit like that.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, man. It's getting interesting. So and then this year, is according to the Chinese Zodiac is the year of the rabbit, right? 2023.
Right.
So the rabbit is a symbol of initiation, So follow the rabbit to the rabbit hole.
Alice in Wonderland, yeah.
Yeah. So where does the rabbit hole go exactly? Well, I guess we'll all find out maybe. So, and then also 2023, is the inverse of 322, which is like a skull and bones number 2. So, and today, this year is actually happened to be like, I think it's like the 322nd anniversary of the society, the secret society of Skull and Bones. So
Wow.
Oh.
yeah, so we're all kind of going to some sort of like initiation. I don't know. So there are all these events,
And 322 comes from a Babylonian goddess, I believe, and I can't remember which one specifically, but I think that's where that 322 comes from. Some Babylonian goddess they allegedly or supposedly sign allegiance to.
Oh, really? Would you know which one it is?
Not off the top of my head, sorry.
Oh, okay. Is it? But it's not Ishtar, is it? Or Ceramimus, or whatever her name is.
I honestly, I don't remember. I don't have that one in my short-term memory, but I
Oh,
will
okay.
look it up.
No. I want to know that. That's pretty. That's really interesting. So speaking of the goddess, so so if we want to talk about like the Babylon stuff, we can go into that if you want.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So in the Sunlighting book, I get into who the Whore of Babylon really represents, what it all means. So it actually connects to, surprisingly enough, the demiurge. Yeah. So in the book, so I get into like how Babylon means gateway, right? So really, originally, like the Whore of Babylon is just basically this supernatural spirit, right? That the initiate encounters on his occult quest, for psychic development. But it's all about like sex magic. It's all connected to that, because you're supposed to like not really, like if you're looking at adult videos and doing things to yourself, I mean that's not really good for your psychic development. So that's why you have like well, I mean, according to like these left-hand path occultists, like she's there to like guide you to use your sexual energy for your power, basically, your will, whatever, right? So I mean, that's one aspect of her, but it really even gets deeper than that, though. I mean, because then in the book, yeah, I get into I mean, um, there's this group called the Canaanites that the church fathers talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's a lot of disagreement whether they actually existed. I mean, they probably did. I mean, why not? Um, but they were like considered like gnostics, sort of like left-hand path gnostics, ancient left-hand path gnostics that were like very supposedly antinomian. So a lot of these later Kabbalistic groups were into that sort of thing as well. Like what's his face? Oh God, his name escapes me. This is not Ice Gloria, but I know Nathan of Gaza, he was like the herald of this guy. Said that Sabbatai Zevi. Yeah. They're like the
guy with the Frankists.
Yes, the Frankists. So they're all into that sort of thing, right? But the basically kind of connects to like Solomonic magic. So somehow it's connected to that. It's connected to the Qliphot too, supposedly. I don't know. But but in the book, I was talking about how these Canaanites would like supposedly like use these different angelic names to supposedly like dethrone the demiurge, attack, or somehow see, because they equated the demiurge with the vault of heaven or the firmament somehow. It's all connected to that. And when you do these spells, supposedly that it somehow affects reality. Yeah, so it's connected to that. But now if you look at Revelation itself, I mean, it talks about a woman who rides a beast, right? Who's drunk on the blood of the saints, and she wears all this. She's decked out all this jewelry and posh stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, then at the end, I'm not
Posh
I'm not a widow. Look at me, I'm awesome. And then 10 kings conspire with the beast to take her out. And then I think like there's like a lot of like Christian evangelists out there that claim that America is actually Babylon.
I've heard that.
Yeah, the new Babylon.
The new Babylon, or then it connects to like the new Atlantis and all that kind of sort of thing, and how like basically America is like taken out by I don't know by who whatever. So I don't even know. I don't know if that's true, really, but I mean, yeah, you can see the correspondences there. Can't say the word.
I think
Anyway,
America's the new Rome, but that's
yeah,
just me. You know, that's
yeah,
why anything York or anything that owns in ton like Boston, I think the Roman Empire just sort of transmorphed itself from Rome to England to America.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, just from like, previous stuff that we did on the Occult Rejects, like when we covered Skinwalker Ranch, just because of trying to trace names, like I started realizing like how many names, even street names,
Yeah.
are coming from over there.
yeah.
Families
Capitol
from
Hill,
over there.
Capitol Line Hill.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
this
all
whole
there.
country is named off of people from over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Not here. I mean,
Yeah.
there is, but I'm just saying like a lot of stuff. I was even realizing like even where I grew up, I'm like, yo, these names of these towns are coming from families over in Europe.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm like, what the
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, what you guys talking about? I mean, yeah. There's a lot of occult programming and everything. Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like so, and you guys approve it like every single day. When you make a podcast. So, but with my stuff. I mean, like I get into all kinds of stuff in this book. So I get into the Orphic mysteries. Yeah, and it's just so funny. Like when I publish this book, now all this stuff is like manifesting. I don't know how if there's a connection there. Anyway, but in the book, I also get into like other stuff like Mother is another
The
sorry,
film.
the
I
film Mother.
always say
Yeah.
that's an excellent film to watch, I think, for a depiction of the Scarlet Whore.
Yeah, yeah. So
And then how does
then-
that movie end? In
Well,
flames.
yeah, yeah.
No
It's
spoilers.
right. It's like an apocalyptic ritual that we're seeing unfold in that movie. It's like a micro, what is it? A micro version of that. That I'm trying to I'm basically looking into right now. So
I feel like
So
that
that
movie
movie-
was just
huh?
like showing them unplugging a computer and then taking that wire that was stuck in the wall and putting it into the back of another one.
yeah,
He wakes up and he's got a new chick. Let's start this all over again.
The last chapter of the book is called Breaking the Shells, an apocalyptic ritual drama analysis of Mother. And you kind of break down the film as a apocalyptic ritual. Right?
yeah, for sure, yeah. And I put out that article with Miguel's website a while back.
Cool.
It's still on there,
Nice.
and then so I wrote it for his website. Then I decided to kind of add to it and just kind of fix whatever mistakes I made on it.
You go into Jacob's Ladder, how that ties into that film.
Oh,
Yeah.
Would you like to touch on that real quick if you don't mind?
Yeah, Jacob's Ladder. So I know there's a scene where I think him or Javier Bardem is like walking up this upstairs staircase, and he's like, and then when I think it's Adam and Lilith supposedly show up, and in the house, and they're looking for Papa, and then his wife Ashera, she's like, inviting them in, and then yeah, so the tree, this Jacob's Ladder, I think is allusion to the Tree of Life for sure. I mean, it is connected to the astral projection. Now in the book, the Sun Lady, I get into how the Jacob's Ladder was actually connected to not only Jacob, obviously, but the Archangel Uriel and the Sun Lady. So, in fact, Uriel and
Well, he's
Jacob
even associated with
yeah.
electricity or lightning. Uriel.
Who? Uriel? Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I
he's
could
like-
see a Jacob's Ladder. I mean, if you're thinking of the one of today, it does have
Yeah.
electricity flowing between the poles.
Right. So you consider like the Stairway to the Gods, from ancient Babylon. Like, you ever seen those ziggurats? Kind of like, so I guess you can consider that the original Jacob's Ladder, maybe.
Like a step pyramid, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
But Sorry.
Go. I was just going to say. So there's a portion here where you go through each Sephiroth or Aeon gives birth to a succeeding lower Sephiroth or Aeon. Aeon means age. This relates to the Kabbalistic four worlds, where 10 Sephiroth and sorry
Emanate.
emanate from a
Solid one.
chain of being.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
Continue. I didn't
Yeah,
mean to
yeah.
interrupt you.
No, it's okay. So basically, it's like, so that the Tree of Life, I mean, that is an astral interdimensional structure that, has been in place for, since the beginning of time, really, or even before that,
For a long time, yeah.
long time. So, a lot of the ancients knew about it. It's just been passed on to the Jews. It's kind of the same thing with the Psalms. I mean, originally the Psalms were like Chaldean prayers that were eventually, sort of like adjusted to the Jews and their rituals to Yahweh or prayers to Yahweh, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Judaism is an amalgamation of old Babylonian religion, sort of a mishmash, where did that come from? Well, probably Egypt.
Right. Right. Yeah, and then exactly. So the Egypt connection, I mean, that's also pretty interesting too, because there's a guy named Simon the Magician. He actually constructed his own Tree of Life. He called it the Great Tree of Fire, actually. Um, and he probably got that from ancient Egypt because he was initiate there, and he trained under John the Baptist. He probably knew Jesus, possibly. I think it's very possible since they were contemporaries. Um, Now, there's a lot of people claim that Jesus and Simon are the same person. I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about that. I think they were definitely separate people for sure. Um, I mean, I'm sure there's definitely overlap for sure, though. I mean, you can kind of compare like Simon with Helen as being like this his concubine sorceress, I guess.
Sure.
and then you have Mary Magdalene
I
with
was just gonna
Jesus, right?
say.
So
Yeah.
and the whole Merovingian stuff that comes from that, So
And Jesus's life does follow the hero pattern.
Oh,
Died
yeah,
on born of a virgin, died on a hill. We can find this in plenty of other characters that came before him, from Mithras to Hercules to pick one.
Well, I even think
It's all there.
going back to Jacob's ladder, I mean, I even think Jesus is associated with that. The 33
Absolutely.
vertebrae. I think all that goes along with Jacob's ladder type symbolism at times.
Yeah, totally.
yeah, oh for sure, yeah. And then in the movie, what is Papa doing? Like he's obsessed with this crystal, right?
Cathar, I think maybe. Or something.
Yeah. So he has this. So it looks kind of like an egg a little bit. So it's this crystal that regenerates reality. So it's kind of like the foundation stone, really, or the that you see in like in the Zohar or whatever, but the Book of Enoch. So the foundation stone is like the original seed that germinates reality, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, well, here it gets even crazier. So in the Book of Revelation, it talks about the cubical city of the New Jerusalem, right? So I always kind of thought maybe that's really the foundation stone. So like, in this movie that Darren Aronofsky created, he's basically saying to the audience that yes, we're in some sort of loop situation. I mean, kind of like the Ouroboros represents, right?
Right.
But it's like, so in Book of Revelation, they say that there's a cubical city that descends from the heavens at the end of the apocalypse, and in this cubical city, it contains like everything that God wants to keep in this new universe. So it's kind of like almost like a Noah's Ark, basically, right?
Mm.
So it contains like the saved or the righteous. So there's all contains like the Lamb, the angels, the Tree of Life. By the way, it's in the cubical city, and then from that point, the rest of the universe, the old universe, is destroyed in the lake of fire, right? So anything that's outside of the cubical city is destroyed. And then the New Jerusalem becomes the new universe, essentially. So I can almost kind of feel like that's like like, so the foundation stone is the same thing as New Jerusalem. I know, kind of a head trip.
Yeah, well, I can see that happening in the movie, and I see what you're getting at. It's like just
And
generation.
I do think there's some history there, and I think it's gotten kind of silly in conspiracy culture, honestly. But I do think that if you look at history, that there was just times when society is essentially kind of rolled up, and a few leftovers are there, like the pyramids. Look at the vertical water erosion on the Sphinx. I think there are things that are left over for when the game board was essentially reset, and yeah, we start anew. I think there's really something to that about bring in all the things they want to keep and then start anew.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is where all this, the Great Reset, whatever agenda it's coming from. So like they literally want to like alchemically dissolve and coagulate the universe, in a way. And maybe I don't know if they're really gonna be successful, really. But I mean, but when you see people like Elon Musk saying that we're in we're in some sort of matrix prison or whatever, and that we have to like bust out of it. I mean, and then there's an article that came out in the Atlantic Monthly back in 2016 saying that
Gnostic
Elon
tech
Musk,
billionaires break us
these
out of the
Gnostic,
simulation.
right. There's all these tech billionaire Luciferians that want to destroy the universe through sex magic. So supposedly it's all connected. So I mean, I don't know. It's insane, but at the same time, I mean, we're what the hell? We're experiencing all this insanity, play out in the world today in the news.
What do you think the Bezos dick rocket and then the Virgin Galactic uterus-looking rocket is about? I think it's space-based sex magic.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's like,
I mean, we got the stuff right by the monument. I mean, the monument's sticking out of the Vesica Pisces. And then we're just doing it in the skies now.
You have the Washington Monument, the big dick energy, and the Oval Office, but it is in two circles at the base of the Washington Monument. Correct.
Yeah.
It's sex magic.
And it's right by 17th Street.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Interesting fun fact.
And then you see that in the Vatican, so they're all involved in the same shit,
But you had even mentioned, Alex, just now, like even the story that you were depicting about like the square and all the fire, like that even happens, spoiler alert, unfortunately, at the end of Mother. I mean, I don't remember if the house was perfectly square, but I mean, the house kind of stayed, and didn't everything else like blow up outside of it?
Right. So everything was destroyed except for Papa or him.
Yeah, he was the only thing left.
Him. Yeah, he was the only one left standing, and so he so what happened is that J-Law, she died. Well, she's not really killed by the fire, really. I think it's actually Papa himself actually kills
I think
J-Law.
he burns her out. I think he fries her out, literally.
He rips the crystal heart from inside her and rips it out, and then she dissolves into nothing, right? And then he puts it on this little pedestal thing in his office, and then spontaneously regenerates after he starts laughing like a crazy person. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, and then everything and then you see another chick fill in J-Law's place. Yeah.
Well, Synthetic, just think about what we were talking about yesterday on Lee's show. And when he was talking about like laughing as being a way of releasing energy.
Yeah.
He laughs, right. And then the Matrix starts all up again.
Yeah, we were talking about if you hold in your laughter, it's like if you can feel yourself kind of like building that energy. Or, if you're in a room and there's something you shouldn't laugh at and you're trying to hold it in by biting your lip, and, that energy just sort of builds and builds and builds inside of you until you kind of let it out.
Right.
There's a section in the book, it's John Mercury, John the Baptist of Egypt. If we go back to the Templars, there's a lot of stories there about them having the head of John the Baptist, or these altars where it contains skulls, where each Templar, I guess, preceptory would have a skull altar of some sort that maybe represented Baphomet. I wonder if you could talk a little about John Mercury, the chapter in that book, in your latest book.
Yeah, I think that's like one of my favorite
Yeah, me
articles
too.
in that one.
Nice.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, I don't know where I get this stuff from. Just I don't know. I just channeled this. I don't know.
You're a
Just
Gnostic
channeled it.
revealer.
Yeah, I guess I'm a revealer of the mysteries of Sophia, or whatever you want to say, or Mercury, or whatever.
You're picking up the right radio stations right now.
Yeah. So, oh my God, this is crazy. So yeah, the essay I get into, like, yeah, John the Baptist and how he connects with all these Egyptian deities.
Mhm.
So there's a lady, her name is Acharya S. She wrote a lot of articles and books back in the day. She's no longer with us, but
Mhm.
she wrote a lot of books called, like, one was called the Christ Conspiracy was one. She wrote another book called Christ in Egypt. Did Moses exist? So yeah, she's like friends with other bigger scholars like Robert Price, for example. And I draw a lot of inspiration from him too. But anyway, in the essay, I get into how John the Baptist connects with, like, Anubis, shockingly enough. I was like, what? It was like when I found that out. And then another one is called this headless spirit. I forget the name of it, but I get into that. And then I quote a lot from Gerald Massey, and he's like this 19th century scholar that a lot of unfortunately a lot of scholars, like more like academic scholars, attempt to, like, degrade or kind of like poo-poo on for whatever reason. But I mean, his stuff is really, really good I think. He makes a lot of, like, connections that I never would have. So I draw a lot of connections from him too. And then the book, so I get into, like, I mean, not the book, well, the essay, yeah, well, the book, yeah, but in the essay specifically, Mercury comes in because he connects to Thoth, right? Thoth Hermes, right? In the Emerald Tablets, it's all connected. And then also I mean, in the essay, I connect Mercury with just even with angels in general, because angels are themselves, like, very mercurial, just like they're like the
Right.
messengers of the gods. So, and like earlier in the book, I was talking about the concept of the daemon, right? The good daemon. So, and you also see them, like, in the Hermetica. There's these governor spirits that incarcerate you in this cycle of reincarnation, basically. That's what the Hermetica talks about. They call them, like, the tormentors of the Zodiac. Yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm.
They're kind of the same thing as the archons in a way, but really, if you want to get technical, I mean, they're almost like they're servants or the servitors of the archons, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can see
The
that.
archons are like the seven main power, are these animal-headed governors or watchers or sentries, right? And then they're part of the heptamad of the demiurge, basically. And this is what, like, the Gnostics were trying to, like, sort of ward off in their rituals and their prayers and stuff like that. Or so, like, I know the Ophites were into, like, trying to overcome each archon, each successive heaven through these different prayers. So, and Celsus talks about that in his book, True History and then Origin, tries to refute it all. But I mean, it's just crazy how Celsus, he's like this Platonic historian, but he said that the Christians, the Gnostics, basically the same thing. He didn't really make any distinction, between in that time, But now it's like they're totally different. But during that time, though, it was very hard to kind of like splinter, because it was just they all kind of like believed similar things, even though they came from different schools, But
One
anyway,
myth-
going
one
right,
mythology bleeds into the next. It's
right,
always worked that way. Yeah.
right. So, yeah, the Egyptian stuff is very much prominent in that essay. I may get into, like, the histories of Simon the magician and John the Baptist. Now, John the Baptist is kind of like this wisdom god of, like, kind
Mhm.
of like Hermes. Basically, he's like the same as Anubis or Aquarius, Ages of Aquarius or Enki or Oannes or whatever. So, then they're all like,
Well, I even find, just real quick, just even the whole
yeah,
thing of including water. I mean, an eye just keeps its leg in the water and just dunks its fucking head in. You know, like you're doing that as you're baptizing people.
Right. So John or Enki, like he's like, so Enki is like called like I think he's like the Lord of the Abyss or something like that. That's just one of his titles. And
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
so or the Abyssu, right? So he's basically you're being baptized in this specific knowledge that will either make you or break you. So that's what the Hermetica talks about, right? So you have to be baptized in this bowl of wisdom, right? This bowl of nous, and so that's that's the path of the magical initiate. Is attain this knowledge, and then it connects to like if you want to get technical, you can talk about the knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel.
Baptism of wisdom, maybe.
Right. The baptism of wisdom.
Baphomet is the baptism of wisdom.
Right. So like this sort of like that's sort of like an egregoric kind of like concept of that. So he's sort of like a hodgepodge of different magical things or traditions, kind of a little bit. Even though he is obviously connected to like the left hand path and the occult and all that stuff, Luciferianism. So they consider him as like the
Dark
glyph
egregore.
of initiation, the arcanum, the symbol of initiation or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like is this an equilibrium of the astral light between but really you're combining light and darkness together. That's what Vetus androgen is doing. So I mean, I think that's what kind of like what the middle pillar really sort of does. Kind of. I mean, you're drawing on both Malkuth and Cathar and everything in between, right?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like an aspect of creating this arcanum body, the astral body, and I'm dishing out a lot of occult secrets here.
Well, if you look at the picture of the traditional Eliphas Levi picture of Baphomet, you've got one sun that's black, one sun that's white. There's a line in the Bible, and I apologize, I'm not a Bible scholar, but Jesus says to walk the narrow path. I think that's the middle pillar. I think that's what that's a reference to. So all this stuff ties back to all these old ideas of the tree of life and the pillars and the arch.
Right.
Even at least duality or polarity. There's always that too.
And
which I think
even
is all the thing that everything's showing as well.
And to tie it back into this chapter in your book, Jesus, the word Christ comes from the word Christos, which means the anointed. So I think it all is kind of it all kind of filters through the same way.
Right. Yeah, and kind of to go back what you said about the narrow way. So yeah, that's what Jesus says in Matthew, right? And then so basically that middle pillar, you're going through Tiferath. Now Tiferath is the sun, right?
Yes.
So and who rules the sun? Well, I mean connects to the Logos, to Yahweh, to Jesus, to Michael, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The color yellow is associated with Tiferath, so the inner sun, right? So yeah, you have all these different magical groups. They kind of sort of like war over the tree of life, or to kind of like add to it. I mean, there's definitely some. So it's all connected. So that's what life is, right? I mean, that's you're kind of going through this gigantic initiation, every day, So and everybody's connected to this astral structure, whether they realize it or not, because if you compare it with like the Adam Kadmon, he really is the tree of life.
Yes, you can overlay it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so and if you look at like the stuff like the Cliffoth, I mean that's like the waste or the shells of Adam Kadmon, right? So and then those are like the Luciferian mysteries. So and I get into that a little bit in the book too.
The so below of the tree of life, and Adam Kadmon, for those who are not aware, it's the original man in the teachings of the Kabbalah. It can be found in the Nag Hammadi text, and it's sort of the core of like the Valentinian Gnostic concepts.
Right.
Valentinus spoke of that. I believe it's also in the Pistis Sophia, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not.
It's probably it is in Pistis Sophia. It's been a while since I read it, but
Me too.
But yeah, I remember. But the Pistis Sophia is really interesting, though. I think there's like 3 books of that, and it gets into like the teachings, the hidden teachings of Jesus after his resurrection. So he gave all these hidden doctrines to his disciples, right? But it's all very very Gnostic, of course, in Egyptian, for sure. But the third Pistis Sophia book is very kind of reads like a grimoire almost, because he's invoking all these different Greek gods and Egyptian gods. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's like, what the hell is Jesus talking about all this stuff for? You know,
Right.
it's like, what? So he has some sort of knowledge on that when he was initiated, I'm sure. It's so crazy. We could talk about this for hours and hours, but
Yeah.
yeah, but it's yeah. So like this book is like I'm kind of giving it to everyone. It's sort of like draw from, to initiate from, kind of, in a way, you know. So because there's just so many different things that I found that was really fascinating, that I had to like channel it somehow, or else I was going to go nuts.
Yeah.
So that's why. So that's how I kind of felt when I had to like put this whole thing. So
That's actually something I did want
You
to
know?
ask you. It's just unfortunately we're like already an hour in, so it kind of sounds like it's going backwards. But I did want to ask you, like, what was it that made you even decide to make this book? Like, why was it like you're like, I need to put this out, or I'm writing
Yeah.
this? Like, what was it that was, what inspired you?
Oh, good question. So I had people asking me actually to re-release these articles. So I was getting requests for that. So I'm like, well, I mean, it doesn't really sound like a bad idea. So I'm like, well, maybe just like put it all together into a book, because I already wrote this stuff before. So it's not like I'm I'm rewriting everything. I'm just adding a bunch of stuff to it to make it flow better, I guess, or take things out or whatever. So that's what inspired me to do it. Yeah. So it's just from a kind of like request from people who are read my website. So that's my answer for that.
Yeah, but like that topic, I guess you must have assumed like this was
Oh,
of importance.
the Cathar stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and the
So
Sun Ladies. Yeah, like the whore of Babylon and all that. Visual stuff and ideas and archetypes. Like there was something. Was it because of what was going on in the world? Something that you just started to get into on your own? Like what was it? That was like, you know what?
Oh, originally,
I think I should put this out for people to learn. You know what I'm saying, or to understand.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think it was back in 2017 is what really kind of like started really when I read that book. Because during that time there was like some sort of like sign in the heavens that all these online Christians were kind of like buzzing about. And it was all connected to like the woman or clothes with the sun, and it connects to like the Virgo and how it sort of aligns in the heavens, and it's
The
connected to
blood
like
moons, I think.
blood
ties
moons,
into
yeah,
that. Yeah.
the Shemitahs and all these Jewish feast days, and September. So I think it was September 23rd, 2017 was like supposedly the
So like
date
there's
where like
Virgo and the blood moon involved in this.
yeah,
That's
yeah, I think it's all connected. So supposedly that date was
She's
like
prime and ready to go.
right. She's about to give birth, so like
Yeah.
like it connects to like Jupiter. So that's what like kind of spurred me to like write all this stuff and like to kind of investigate like what's going on here. But it's kind of, I mean, nothing too crazy really happened except for like a pandemic. But 3 years later from that point on, right? And then now all this great stuff's happening. So I don't think that's a coincidence, So
Wasn't there even a date that you specified, like September 23rd, 2000?
yeah, 2017, yeah. So it was like supposedly the rapture was supposedly supposed to happen, but that didn't really happen. But a lot of Christians at the time were kind of like talking about. But
I guess the reason I'm asking you is because like when me and Lux did the Scarlet Horse series, I mean, at that time I thought we were seeing a lot of it kind of in our faces, and I thought that's why it was also a good topic.
For sure.
So I was wondering if like maybe like you were kind of like seeing the same thing, like. I thought a lot of stuff going on with like, just the riots, the fires. I know I keep going back to the fires, but like, even just like all these labels and names that like we're throwing on ourselves. It's like, going back to the movie Mother again. I feel like a lot of times in that movie, she is just very unhappy with what's going on. And it's like, I have to redirect this somewhere. And it still doesn't get her where she wants to go. So she keeps changing it and changing it and changing it and just never happy. And I was like, we're seeing that out in the streets with people right now.
Right. So the Scarlet Woman or Scarlet Horse, she shows up in pretty much everywhere, really. I mean, like the Matrix for one, the woman with the red dress. You see that with what is it, the Scarlet Witch and the Doctor Strange movie, and all the Marvel. what's
The WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Rihanna in all red with everyone in
Rihanna.
all white for her
Right.
Super Bowl performance. Yeah.
Right. Sam Smith.
He's all red.
Oh yeah, Sam
It's all
Smith. Yeah.
non-binary and devilish over there. Yeah, and and that's the thing. The Scarlet Horde doesn't even have to manifest in a female persona. It can manifest
I
in a
don't
male
think so
person
either. Yeah,
too.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So it's all connected to the left-hand path. That's why you see all these people putting their hands over their left eye or the right eye. I mean, so they're saying that they're on that path, on that initiatory system.
I've often wondered, like, is that like taking the idea of Janus and showing which way you're going?
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, by covering that one eye, because he only really has one eye on each side when he's looking both ways. So I wonder, like, I'm just covering, like, I'm not on that side, I'm on this side of the tree now, maybe. Going towards Chokwa from Binah, I don't know.
Yeah. And then that's that kind of makes sense. Like there's they're kind of like covering the right pillar and then revealing the negative pillar, basically.
Yeah.
That's
Or vice versa.
But yeah, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me see what else. I was gonna say something.
The Scarlet Horse. Sorry, yeah.
The Scarlet Horse. Yeah. Scarlet Horse. So then you see Jen Psaki. She's kind of like
Yo, I thought that. No lie,
I never thought of that. Wow.
I thought that. And then that made me even think about Peppermint Patty, because I do think Charlie Brown is actually very occult in itself.
Yeah.
All those people in the Biden cabinet came from this organization called West Exec, too. I did a video on it. It's on my BitChute channel, not to promote myself, but it's funny that the entire Biden cabinet came from one basically consulting firm that was created to prop him up for this time. It's not coincidental by any stretch. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, they're all. I mean, they know what's up. I mean, they're not stupid. But but I was gonna say. Then there's Balenciaga. That whole scandal kind of came out. So there's an image of this little girl holding like an S&M teddy bear, right, with all this dragon stuff. So, and she had red hair, so that's Scarlet Horse symbolism right there.
I want to ask you real quick, Alex. Do you think, and I do think it is used as symbolism for this, even horses? Do you think bears could be a symbol of like a beast-like type thing?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, and then think about this. So the bear, what does that bear symbolize that she was holding? I think that connects to Kanye West himself, really.
Oh, because he uses teddy bear symbolism.
Yeah, with that dropout thing or whatever it's called.
Yeah, college dropout.
So he's binded now. He's binded to something. So he has his bondage kind of like outfit on that teddy bear, right? So, but we're talking about like sexual bondage, So
right.
So binding is sexual energy, So he's binded to something,
I was even thinking when I've seen that, because I think I know what you're talking about. And this is going to sound far off, but I even wondered, is that like a lover's tarot card? Right. I do think that kind of shows the binding of like projective energy being tricked by the damsel in distress, depending on what the card looks like. It's just tied to a rock or not, but you're getting grounded.
Yeah.
Grounding the male energy. They're starting to.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that said that, that was Pizzagate or whatever. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that's cut to Pizzagate, I guess. But really, they're really trying to say something, though, for sure. I
do think a lot of stuff that, like you're just saying right now, if it technically falls into Pizzagate and that, I do think, unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is much more deeply occulted. And people
for sure, 100%, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Not trying to discredit that stuff happens,
right?
Just saying
but
there's
I think
much
it's
deeper
more
meanings to these symbols and these things than
the story being told.
Deliberate.
Yes,
I think it's more deliberate. The whole thing, for sure. I mean, you even think like the whole conspiracy subgenre is really like an occult kind of thing, really.
Definitely.
William, what's his name? Not William Gibson. Oh God, I forgot his name. Bill Cooper. Sorry. Cooper. Yeah. So he wrote all this stuff, right?
Mystery Babylon.
Yeah. So if you read or watch his stuff, and you connect to Manly P. Hall, I think that's when you really start to figure out what's actually happening here. So for sure. So anyway, but yeah, it's all. But I mean, how exactly all connects to my book? I mean, yeah, I talk about obviously the movie The Mother. I talk about other mysteries like Hecate is another one I talk about a little bit in with the Chaldean oracles. I cut a little bit again to like you know, Lucifer, Astral Light, and yeah, it's insane. So yeah,
You know what I was just
uh,
thinking? Did you ever see that movie Midsummer?
yeah, I saw that one.
Do you remember at the end what happens to the dude? He gets thrown in a bastard and thrown on fire.
Right. See, that's another one.
I'm
So
sorry,
that's
that just
another
randomly
occult
popped into my
programming.
head, and I was like, I have to say it. I'm sorry.
Or the end of
Yes.
the ninth gate, the guy's trying to do the ritual and lights himself on
Right.
fire. He's like, I'm invincible, and he sure isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one. Something to do with fire, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you've given us a great story arc here with your 3 books. You got the Baphomet book, which is my introduction to you. That's one of my favorite books of all time. The Sun
Yeah.
Lady, which goes into the Book of Revelations, and the new one, which is just a little bit of everything, but kind of ties into that Cathar spirit returning. Check his stuff out, people. It's a real education.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real doozy. You're not ready.
That shit's pretty deep.
You'll want a notebook when you read these books to just
Yeah.
you'll do a lot of Googling.
Yeah.
I want to ask
Uh-huh.
you something, Alex. You mentioned it before, and it was just like, a random thing that popped into my head. Now, you were mentioning, like, Baphomet and them keeping, like, skulls, right?
Mhm.
Doesn't the Oddfellows sometimes actually just have, like, a skeleton, or aren't they supposedly known for having bones at their temples?
Skull and coffin
Skull and Bones, you
symbolism.
mean?
Or, like, I mean, I think, I hate to use him as an example, but I even think fucking Zach Baggins went to an Oddfellows lodge. And
really?
even
I
mention the fact that they are supposed to have, like, some of them might happen to have, like, I think a skeleton or some bones, like, in something there from previous
I'm not-
people. And I'm
Yeah,
wondering,
I'm not
like, is
familiar
that a
with that.
connection?
The Oddfellows
Yeah.
does use skull symbolism and all-seeing eye symbolism, so I would say yes to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with them, so I can't really say too much about it. But I mean, sounds accurate though. I'm sure.
Yeah. No,
I think that's all Hiram Abiff stuff because
Yeah.
they tie into the whole Masonic, umbrella, I guess you could say. And
Right.
Masons love the story of Hiram Abiff, that descent into hell, their regeneration,
Right.
going to the underworld and coming back.
Right. Yeah, it's all connected to like the mysteries of like Orpheus and Osiris.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is
I
there,
mean, sorry.
is there anything that you would like to, because we're already like kind of like a little bit at an hour here, maybe wrap it up soon. Is there anything you would like to actually just specifically mention or touch on in your book, or something that you just want to get out, like you think is important? A message that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah. So, good question. I mean, really, I just want to kind of like say just real quick. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, what does this all really mean? Is what some people might be thinking. Okay, so I can answer that. So we connect to. So we mentioned the Cathar spirit, right? So, but it does connect with like, the age of Aquarius, yeah, the age of Wormwood, the age of Horus, the rabbit. What it's all connected. So like, we're in an age of revelation, unveiling. So that's why I wrote all these books. Like I have that thing, unveiling. So like kind of like Isis unveiled. So yeah, we're in some sort of unveiling. Yeah. So I mean, like I think like there's a prophecy in the book of Daniel talks about how knowledge will be increased towards the end. So yeah. So before the end shall come in the last days. The knowledge will be opened up. So yeah, it's all connected to that. I mean, is all this stuff literal exactly? I mean, are we supposed to take everything literal? No, I don't think so. But I mean, there's a lot of like metaphorical aspect to all this too. I mean, is Bible prophecy like is it going to happen like literally? Was it described in the Book of Revelation? I mean, that's really debatable, highly debatable. Yes, but that they definitely use this kind of symbolism. It doesn't stop them from using that symbolism anyway in the mainstream consciousness. So you just have to be aware that this stuff is happening. It just at least it gives people some insight of what we're kind of like navigating through. Basically, I would say, really, just kind of leave it there. Um, so I am thinking of putting out more content. Really. maybe possibly on Substack. I am working on a project, so I am planning on focusing on that. I'm working on sort of like a sequel to the Sun Lady, kind of. So, but
Oh,
it gets
cool.
into so it kind of gets into like the Kabbalah quite a bit,
Nice.
but it doesn't. But it's not really just about that. It's even bigger than that. I know that's crazy, but but it does connect to that too. So I can't really say too much right now because I'm still writing it, but I am planning on just putting that on my Substack, so maybe that'll generate
Nice.
following, yeah, for
Very nice.
premium content, that is.
Very nice.
Then I also was thinking of like maybe like putting some videos or audio podcasts. I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe I could monetize my stuff somehow. So, I don't know.
I definitely suggest, if you don't mind doing the podcast, I really think you should.
Yeah. I used to do a podcast back in the day. I just called it the Magus Aeon, but I don't know, it just took too much time for me, and then I just stopped doing it. But yeah, maybe I should return to it. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
And it was something I actually did kind of like forget to ask. I guess because I didn't ask because I know you don't have like a show, even though you do have a YouTube. Like you said, you haven't posted on there in a while. Where are some links or places people can find your work and your stuff?
Oh, yeah. So you can go to my website, theaeoni.com. You can just go there, and then you can look at all the previous work I put on there. To be honest with you, I haven't really updated that website in a while, because I'm just kind of thinking of just using Substack really from now on. I'm thinking it's just I mean, it is a lot of work just to really update everything on that website.
Oh,
So
I'm
that's
sure,
why I'm like,
sure.
so. Where is it going? But yeah, I do want to. But so you can go on my website. You can go to my Substack, the Magus Mysterium Substack. You can go to YouTube. You can type it. You can just type in Aeon 222. You can look at my videos there.
Yeah, I'll throw all the links in there too for this one.
Yeah, you can go I'm on Twitter. You can find me. Now, if you want to purchase my books, you can go on Lulu.com and get The Sun Lady and The Laurel Turns Green from those websites. And also on Amazon too, so whatever you prefer. So yeah, I'm also working on a soft cover for the Laurel Turns Green because I know it's expensive. Because Lulu forced me to. Because
Sorry.
yeah, it's because it's just I should have been more aware. Yeah, I'm jam packing a lot of content in that book. So yeah, of course it's gonna be expensive. So. But oh well. But
I would assume also the bigger the book, the more expensive it gets. So I mean, it's just
right. It's just like, well, it's just I had to put everything together, or otherwise I don't know. It's just like, or it might get lost out there. I don't know.
Sure.
So, but I want to put out a soft cover so it'd be more accessible for people to purchase. Eventually.
Yeah, definitely check out "Busting Out of the Stone of Prophecy." Is it on Substack? It's an article. That's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that one's crazy. So I get into like royal family rituals and what's going to be coming up with this crowning of King Charles. So yeah, he's like supposedly the embodiment of Saturn or Bina. So supposedly,
I could see that.
Yeah, worth a read for sure.
It's crazy.
And real quick, I guess not to put you on the fuck, I forgot the phrase. Whatever.
Spot.
Put you on the spot. Yeah, not to put you on the spot, but I do know, and I was joking with you about it prior to the episode. Unfortunately, he is doing a slideshow on Aeon Byte, so he didn't want to use the slideshow today because you already promised Miguel he'd do it. So you will have kind of like a slideshow on being on somebody else's show. I have no problem promoting that for you. Would you just like to mention that as well?
Oh yeah. So it's gonna be on Miguel Connor's Aeon Byte show.
Great show. If nobody's checked it out, go check out his show.
Check out Miguel's work, please.
Yeah, that's gonna be really interesting because it's gonna be. I think there's gonna be more than him. I think there's other people going to be watching it live. So I don't know, some to do with this group, but I don't know too many details. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, everything goes smoothly.
Yeah. So if that hasn't dropped yet, by the time this comes out, keep a lookout for that. Maybe it has dropped already because I'm not exactly sure when this is dropping right now. I can't think of it. Maybe go check Aeon Byte out and see if he's had him on.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I mean. I see, and that thing I'm going to be getting a little more detail with the book. So right now I'm just talking on the fly here.
Yeah, sure. No,
but
great.
but the other one's going to be a little more structured. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. Alex, I had a great time. I truly appreciate you coming on. Finally made it happen. I'm hoping that in the future we can have more discussions, and then hopefully it just won't take a year in between. Again,
yeah, man.
But then listen, if we're still doing this a year from now, that's great too.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like just so many things happen. It's just life. It's just like
we're all busy.
One thing after another.
It.
One thing after another.
We're too busy staring at the skies right now too. So.
Yeah. Looking for the demiurge.
Yeah, waiting for the horns. I'm waiting for the horns of the UFOs to pop out of the clouds.
The womb of the demiurge. Yeah, I'm looking around.
Oh man, thank you again though for coming on. And Synthetic, thank you so much for. I know this is even earlier for you.
Yeah,
thank you for
having me. This is awesome. No, I'm a big Alex fan, so this was like a Make-A-Wish kid thing.
Yeah, no, wow. That's why I think when you suggested him, and I was like, I've asked him to come on before. I was like, do you want to come on? Because I was just assumed if you suggested him, this might have been exciting for you too. So I was like, I got to make it happen. Just come on with him.
Thank you.
So yeah, I had a great time. I think that all three of us had a really nice chat, and I truly enjoyed this on a Sunday early afternoon. I guess his links are all on the bottom. I will grab links from you, Alex, if you don't mind. You can send them to me. I will toss every link that you want into the show notes. And the Element server, check it out. It's in the show notes. Check out the Element server. We have other shows in there. We have other people in there. It's not just us. And like I say, it's also all the listeners and just the people in there that make it
the
great.
Community behind everything NY Patriot does.
Yeah, it's the community that really, But highly suggest to check it out. Check out the new Twitter. Check out the YouTube that we have, knock on wood. It's still up and going. If you are watching this on YouTube and you're listening to this, whatever, on YouTube, I do have this on podcast form. And there is a lot more shows that will be on podcast, not on YouTube. So definitely check out the audio versions as well. And that's it. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.